he has to remember that a lot of the forgotten, retired, rejected characters in this world were his friends at one point. He's left them behind. He has to restore the land. And most important, perhaps, he has to reconnect with his resentful half-brother, Oswald. The land we're looking at now is called Ventureland. This is what we call a quest zone. Here you talk to characters, you learn about quests, you buy tools and supplies using the collectible tickets inspired by Disneyland's old e-tickets. Now, for example, here's Adam is learning about a quest. Smee, or our version of Smee, who's a little bit different than the one you remember from the film, Peter Pan. He's learning what he has to do to make progress in the game, where his next steps are. He's also learning about an optional quest, because in Disney Epic Mickey, it's about choices. It's about, do you do this optional quest or not? In Ventureland, in addition to Smee, you'll see some other characters, rejected versions of pirates from Peter Pan. Concepts for the characters that never actually appeared in the film. You may also, in that little dialogue sequence, you may have seen a little gremlin, Gus. There are a bunch of gremlins floating around, and I'm really excited to be able to reintroduce them. Disney and Roald Dahl, the children's book author, created those in the 1940s during World War II, and no one remembers that. So we're reminding the world of that as well. You might also see some attractions, some locations you may notice. The Tiki Room from Disneyland, the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. Those locations are gone from the real parks, or they've been updated pretty radically. But they still exist here in Wasteland. Identifying the real Disney stuff is actually even part of the fun of the game. I'm hoping fans of Disney things will look at this and try to identify all of our inspirations, and believe me, there are a lot of them. But that's only part of the fun. We knew that we had to do more than just look back at Disney's past. We also had to take Mickey to new heights of video game stardom. We had to look forward. We had to offer players something new, something innovative, and something never seen before. Our key innovation lies in our core game mechanic, drawing and erasing. So you see Adam doing it right now. We give Mickey the ability to control the essence of his cartoon being, paint and paint thinner. So just as an artist can remove things that aren't working, they can paint them back in differently. So Mickey can look at the world, identify things that are painted, that are tuned, and remove them, and then restore them. Using paint thinner, players can puddle characters, though, you know, everything has its consequences, so you may not be the most popular guy in the world. But you can puddle characters, you can erase objects, you can erase walls, floors, ground, anything. Or you can restore everything to painted glory. But here's the key. How you change the world and interact with characters makes a difference. It changes how the world looks, obviously. But it also changes how characters treat you. What they tell you or don't. How much they help you. What missions you learn about and don't learn about. And how each character's story ends. I like to sum this up in 2 words. Play style matters. In Disney Epic Mickey, players have real choices to make, and all those choices have real consequences. Erase too much and characters get upset with you and they won't talk to you, or they won't sell you things you want, or they won't tell you about missions. Erasing things, though, can do some good, too. It can erase obstacles, remove obstacles from your path, and make progress through the game easier. So you have to decide how you're going to interact with our world and with our characters there. Painting things, on the other hand, can reveal platforming paths that might not have been available to other players who were less observant and didn't notice that there was a platform to be painted in. So paint can even turn enemies into friends. So every player has to decide how you will use painted thinner as you interact with Smee, with the pirates, with Ventureland, and how you solve their problems. So once you've learned about the quest, it's time to move on to another part of the game. So Disney Epic Mickey combines the best of a variety of genres. We've all played action-adventure games. I love them. We've all played platform games. I love them. We've all played, well, I hope all of you played role-playing games. This is kind of what I do. But what I wanted to do is take the best of all of those games and bring them together. And because of that, it makes sense that we would have more than one kind of map. You've just seen a quest map. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into a movie screen. And you'll see this will take us to what we call a travel map. Okay. Now, Mickey's next mission is actually set in what we call an action map. It'll take him a little while to get there. He knows he has to get to Skull Island. That's where his mission is. But first, we're going to go from one part of wasteland to another. These travel maps, and there are lots of them in the game. We're only showing this one here today, but there are lots of them. They're side-scrolling adventures inspired by real cartoons. This one obviously inspired by Steamboat Willie, which was the first Mickey Mouse cartoon released in 1928. There are many more cartoons that appear in the game, allowing us the opportunity to honor Disney's creative history in that way, and also honor those classic platform games we've all loved since the 8-bit days. The magic brush, you'll notice Adam hasn't used the magic brush at all here. Mickey doesn't actually use his paint and thinner abilities in these side-scrolling adventures. That's a little bit of a mystery, and we're going to keep it that way for now. But running, sneaking, jumping, spinning, those all work here. They're enough to get you through these maps and then emerge in a new land. So why don't we jump through that? Let's see what we got here. So what you'll see here in a second is Skull Island. Obviously, this is our version, Oswald's version, of Skull Rock from Peter Pan. A little different than you might remember. This is an example of an action zone. Here you use what you learned in quest zones to engage in missions that can affect the way your story unfolds. It can change the lives of the characters you interact with. Here it's all action all the time. Platforming, fighting, you name it. Speed told Mickey he had to find a sunken ship, a pirate ship, which would allow him to continue on to the rest of his adventure. He also asked for Mickey's help in rescuing the pirates who are being turned into robotic monsters called Beetleworks in this land. Right off the bat, there's a decision you have to make. Do you take the time, spend the resources, and deal with the risk of doing this optional quest to help those pirates? Or do you save your resources, not take the risks, and go right for the bad guys, right for the villains who are threatening Wasteland? That decision has big ramifications for Smee, the pirates, for Adventureland, and even for Mickey himself. Once you've decided that, you have a bunch of tactical decisions to make. You can go looking for fights and the rewards that fights offer, or you can avoid them. You don't have to fight anything. You can fight everything, fight nothing. You can conserve your resources by avoiding fights. And if you decide to get into a fight, or you find yourself in one inadvertently, you have to decide, am I going to erase those enemies, which can be very straightforward, very simple, or am I going to turn them into friends? And we'll let you figure out for yourselves how you do that. The goals are clear. Raise Smee's boat, which we're seeing the beginnings of here, and continue on your adventure. Maybe help the pirates, maybe not. But how you do those things, the minute-to-minute experience belongs to players. Each player gets to decide. Remember, play style matters. And at the high level, that's what Disney Epic Mickey is all about. We want to honor Disney's past while offering players and Disney fans something new. We want to put players in charge of the experience. Instead of telling players what to do, we want to ask them, what do you want to do? Do you solve problems by using paint or by using thinner? Do you solve problems through restoration and healing? Do you use paint or cleverness to befriend your enemies, or do you simply defeat them? Do you take time and precious resources to solve everyone's individual problems, or do you just go right after the most efficient way to save the Wasteland? These are just a few of the options. There are plenty more when you see the actual game, and each of those options comes with its own unique rewards and costs. At the end of the day, with all the games I work on, what I want is for each player to feel like he or she's created a unique experience based on the choices they make and the consequences of those choices. I believe that playstyle matters concept is the hallmark of modern game design, and with Disney Epic Mickey, I believe we can take that audience, that idea, to a larger audience than ever before. But there's one more thing I want to talk about. Walt Disney once said it's kind of fun to do the impossible. Innovation has been a part of Disney's culture from the start. I mean, just think about the man in the company. First sync sound cartoon, first color cartoon, first feature-length animated film, first stereo sound in a film, first Hollywood studio to get involved with television, first theme parks, first robotics in everyday life. It's crazy. And I'm thrilled to be able to continue Disney's spirit of innovation, to take Mickey to the top of the video game world, and to return Oswald the Lucky Rabbit to the place of prominence he deserves. We had to honor that creative spirit and find just the right balance of heritage and innovation. I think we've done a good job. Your mileage may vary, but I invite you to check the game out for yourself. There are members of the Disney Epic Mickey team right over here in the Disney booth, and they're just desperate to show you how heroic Mickey can be, to demonstrate for you how playstyle matters, and to give you your first taste of paint and thinner gameplay.